a thirst beside the river. Wash the journey from your hands. Feel the comfort flow inside you. Come this far, you understand. Fear's not allowed, where dreams can be lost or found.
My earpiece.
Hello, welcome to Healing Outside the Box. My name is Rosemary Lachance, and I'm an energy healer and spiritual advisor.
I'm Traci Crampton, and I'm an energy practitioner.
And we have made it our mission to introduce people to alternative forms of healing for the mind, body, and soul. We will be providing ongoing shows in which we will explore many forms of alternative healing. We will be inviting guest speakers who are experts in the field of alternative medicine, energy healing, nutrition, spirituality, and more to share their valuable information with you. We will also give you, the audience, the opportunity to email your questions to us and have them answered on this show. This show is for all of you who are standing before the bridge and are curious or actively seeking other ways to feel healthy, balanced, and peaceful. Let me share with you a famous quote. If you keep doing what you are doing, you will keep getting what you have gotten. Each week we answer a question on the show, and tonight's question is, what can you do? What can I do to become more spiritual? What can I do every day to become more spiritual and spiritually connected? And Traci and I are both going to tell you, from my point of view, I can tell you what I do. One thing you can do when you wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is give thanks and gratitude for everything that I have. And I say my prayers and bless everyone and so forth. Meditation is a wonderful way to stay connected. It's gets you peaceful, it gets you centered, sets you out for the day, and you can do it again in the evening, you know, after you've supper and so forth, before bed. It's a wonderful thing to do. And nature, getting out into nature. There's something about nature. It has this essence, this energy that it gives to you. It makes you feel good and happy, and nature's like a miracle to me. So these are a few of the things that I do and that I feel. Traci?
Well, I agree with all of what Rosemary said. These are all practices that we both teach and as well as do in our own daily lives. And I also think that it's really important to focus on your breath and to be aware of the in-breath and the out-breath, and to realize that when you draw in your breath, you are connecting with spirit, you're connecting with that life force around you. And as you become more conscious of that and mindful of that, you're aware of also, you know, your ability to give and to receive. And I think that helps you become much more connected. And I really do believe, too, that the gratitude is an important part, and not just in like the morning or in the evening, but throughout the day. I really think that it helps you to become more in the present moment. When you give gratitude as you're going along in your daily routine, either, you know, for your body as you're showering in the morning, or the dishes as you're washing the dishes, there's something about just connecting in thankfulness that just has such an expansive feeling. So these are all little practices you can do. And of course you can add exercise or yoga to your program, or get energy work done on you. There's so many different ways to connect with spirit. So.
And the animals. The animals are another way to connect.
Too.
Animals are so beautiful. And they're constantly in contact.
Love.
Yep. They give you unconditional love. They're constantly in contact with the pure heavens, and they're wonderful. They give you happiness and joy and peace. So.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the show, this is our what?
This is our 38th show tonight. And the topic is diabetes. This is a subject that is affecting so many of us, and children and adults alike. And we have back with us, returning once again, Dr. Jared Skowron, naturopathic physician. Nice to see you, Dr. Skowron.
Thank you so much for coming.
Always a pleasure to be on your show.
Thank you.
Pleasure
Likewise.
having you. Okay, Dr. Jared is a licensed naturopathic physician and specialist in natural therapies to cure disease. He is faculty at the Naturopathic Medical School at University of Bridgeport and is owner of a wellness clinic in Wallingford, Connecticut, which offers acupuncture, nutritional, herbal, and detoxification therapies. Dr. Skowron has recently finished his first book on scientifically proven natural therapies for children. He lectures all over the country, and he will be featured on a segment on Animal Planet this summer.
Oh, that's nice.
That's great. I can't wait to hear about that.
We had a lot of fun filming our Animal Planet segment, and it's interesting that you brought up how animals keep us connected.
Yes.
And this segment on Animal Planet, one of my patients has mitochondrial disease. She was about 12 years old when she came and saw me for that. The mitochondria.
Explain that to the audience, yeah.
Our mitochondria are part of every cell that create energy. And how do we get energy? It's because these little mitochondria in our cells create it. And people who have mitochondrial disease, that part of the body is not working. So they can't make energy. So they're exhausted, and it's hard for them to get up and go through their day. And she shows dogs for a hobby, and her parents do it as a very large hobby. So they'll show dogs around the area. And the girl was so tired and so exhausted that she had no caretaker, and one of her dogs became her caretaker. One of her dogs brought her meals to her. One of her dogs would take her outside to make sure that she got fresh air and exercise, and she became her reason to live. And it was amazing. And with the dog and through everything that we did naturopathically, she's better. She's back up. She's showing dogs again and touring around. So Animal Planet came down, and we did an entire show of her showing the dogs and having them go through all the hoops and the jumps, and it's really an uplifting story. And the dogs that they have are just amazing, and that they have that innate ability to know,
To sense,
right,
yeah.
what we all need.
And it's interesting. I was taking a walk in the neighborhood the other day, and I passed this woman. She was a stranger to me, but she had this beautiful dog, and I commented on the dog, and she said, yeah, this dog is I rescued this dog, or should I say this dog rescued me. You know, she's like, it really turned out to be the other way around.
Yeah.
And I didn't get her story, but you could just see it in her expression, how grateful she was for this pet and her.
Sure. We find each other somehow.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we really, really do. That's true. And I adore animals, absolutely, positively adore animals. And we're doing shows on them all the time. And
Good.
so anything we can do.
We're glad that we can't wait to see you. You have to keep us informed.
Yeah,
Out.
Let us know when you're going to be on so
I
we
will.
can watch.
All
This is
right.
great.
So to the topic of tonight's conversation, are we in an epidemic with diabetes? Is this? I know it's not, contagious disease, but it just feels like it's at epidemic proportions right now.
Diabetes affects over 26 million Americans, and that's a huge number. And that's not yet 10% or a little more than 10%.
And that's only those that are diagnosed. I mean, imagine how many more.
Exactly. It's huge, and it's so prevalent because we are such an over-industrialized nation, and we have everything at our fingertips. Anything that we want for food or for leisure, it's all in front of us. And that is really leading to this, I don't know if we want to call it an epidemic, but the reason that millions and tens of millions of people have diabetes. And I guess we should go back to the question of, first, what is diabetes?
Yes. How does diabetes occur?
Right.
Let's do that.
And for people who don't understand diabetes is plain and simple, too much sugar in the blood. And that's all it is, okay? So the question is, and of course, most people with diabetes get it because of lifestyle changes and choices that they make, the foods that they eat, the sedentary lifestyle that they have. Now, there are people who have genetic diabetes, and we're not going to talk about them because they're genetically predisposed, but for the people in the 90% whose lifestyle choices have led them to where they are. And again, too much sugar in the blood. And where does that come from? That comes from all the food with sugar that we eat, and it comes from our sedentary lifestyle and not getting enough exercise. And plain and simple, just those two things are causing millions and millions of cases of diabetes.
You know what amazes me? The childhood diabetes is so up. There's so much childhood diabetes. Why is that? Because the same thing?
Well, it definitely the same thing. I mean, there's TV and video games and things to keep kids inside, so they're not as active as they once were. Or if you live in the city, or if you live in New Haven, you might not want your kids to go outside. And there's roads and a lot of cars, and it's dangerous. But I think the primary reason is food. And I break this down for all my patients because it's a little shocking the amount of sugar that we have in all of our foods. So, what I have my patients do, and what I want everybody to do, is go through a day, 2 days, 3 days of all the food you eat and write it down. And most importantly, look at your ingredient lists on the boxes, okay? So if you're having food that has a label, read the label. And on that label will have the number of grams of sugar. So say sugar, 24 grams, okay? I don't know what a gram of sugar is. I can't put my hands on a gram of sugar. However, there's an equation you can use. You take that number of grams of sugar and you divide it by 4. Okay, so if we had 24 grams of sugar, we divide by 4, and that number is 6. And that's the number of teaspoons of sugar that you're eating. So, number of grams, divide by 4. So take them all, add them all up for a day or two. And I was teaching a nutrition class down at University of Bridgeport, so we went through a day of crappy food. So the child woke up and had Pop-Tarts. Child went to lunch and had one of those packed Lunchable kind of things with the cold cuts and things that are prepackaged and give to the kid because it's easy. Came home and had a liter of Mountain Dew while they were playing video games and had some Skittles as well. All the sugar grams of that equaled half a bag of sugar, the 5-pound bags of sugar, 2.5 pounds of sugar, and that's not even dinner. And kids are doing this day after day after day. So you go and get a muffin, 52 grams of sugar. You go and get lunch. Say you get a salad. Salad's fantastic. That dressing is going to contain 40 to 60 grams of sugar.
Oh my God.
And we're just so used to all the food that we have out there we're used to the sweet taste. We're used to the high fructose corn syrup. And they will load these foods with sugar because we like it and we crave it. But unfortunately, we do not need all this sugar. And that's really what causes it all. It's we're not used to the flavors of natural foods. I mean, go and just eat raw vegetables or raw fruit, and a lot of people won't like that because it's not sweet enough. So even if you don't put sugar in things, and a lot of my patients will say, "Oh, I don't put sugar in my coffee or in my tea or what have you." It's in the food.
Yeah, you can't help.
If there's corn syrup in there, high fructose corn syrup, it's in your food. You can't get away from it unless you eat a nice whole food type of diet. And when I say whole food, I don't mean the restaurant, but I mean eating anything that's out in nature. So I tell people there's salmon in the river, there's broccoli in the ground, you can eat that, but there's no bagel bush and there's no cookie tree.
Yeah, I know.
That's right. And you say that, okay, I'm going to ask you after to give our audience kind of like a diet that they could give their children, because children are tough. They're tough. They get bombarded with all the commercials about all this, little characters who make this all wonderful. Like, okay, one thing that I argue with parents about is that they give their children juice. Oh, I don't give them soda. They drink juice. But the juice is loaded with sugar. The juice that you buy in the store in the cans and the little packs, and that is loaded. Am I right or wrong?
No, entirely
It's loaded
correct.
with sugar. So juice is
Even
not
too much
a
natural
substitute.
juice is not
Even
a
too
good
much
thing.
natural juice. Yeah.
Water it down.
But there
you
what's
go.
interesting,
Water it down.
I wish I could remember the author's name, but I read this book, I believe it was called Lights On, about how since the invention of the light bulb, how our hours are extended. It's like we're not naturally hibernating when we should be or sleeping when we should be. So we are trying to fuel our body constantly with these sugar and carbohydrates, and now we're at a point in time, people did this naturally, like late summer into fall, where the harvest is best and all the fruit is ripe, and they ate all the sweetness and all the bounty of life. But then, they starved for 4 months while the darkness set in and the winter was there and food was scarce. So it was like their body naturally balanced itself out. But here we are with the lights and the convenience of everything, and no natural exercise, and if you wanted a piece of fruit you had to climb a tree to get it. If you wanted honey you had to risk getting stung by a bee and knock a hive down. Now it's just like pick it off the shelves, and so convenient. Then we're never hibernating. We're up late, we're watching TV, we're up early trying to get to work and rush, and in the winter things don't slow down.
No,
They
no,
just
they
keep
don't.
going at the same pace.
And stress is such a huge component of our lifestyle, specifically in America compared to other countries. And this is why America's health isn't as good as Europeans and Asians and South Americans, where our health is ranked 27th in the world. Life expectancy for women in America is 25th in the world. So there are countries, South America, Europe, Asia, that all have longer life expectancies than we do. A lot of it's because of the stress. We're such a high stress society. We don't take time out for ourselves, time out for R&R and recreation. And what does stress do? Stress ramps up your cortisol. Stress ramps up your adrenaline. And biochemically inside the body, that puts more sugar into the bloodstream because we're
Yes.
constantly in this fight or flight sympathetic activity, as it's called. And when we're being chased by the tiger thousands of years ago, we needed that sugar in the bloodstream so we could run away.
Right.
But now it's the stress of the job, it's the stress of the kids, it's the stress of the family, or just driving on 95 or getting on the Merritt.
That's for sure.
And
Boy, that's stress.
that dump
She
sugar.
gets very stressed with that. I've been in the car with her.
I don't want to be in the road.
Her little Italian streak comes out.
It dumps sugar in our bloodstream.
Yeah.
And it makes all of this worse. And the cortisol and adrenaline will also raise your cholesterol. It dumps cholesterol into the body as well.
Oh, another good thing.
Wow.
Stress is too much stress is our enemy. And that's why all these things you talked about in the beginning, yoga and meditation, and I love stepping out. I wake up 5:30 every morning, step outside and settle my thoughts and make my plan for the day. And this is what I will accomplish today. So that's my kind of
Nice and
centering.
peaceful, yeah.
But it's doing these kind of habitual habits. They're so habitual habits, you do them twice. So they're great.
Then there's complex carbohydrates and simple carbohydrates.
Yeah, maybe
Sure.
you can
And
explain.
a lot of people who take insulin think they can eat anything they want because they take insulin, but
Right.
that's not true.
Right.
So a good complex carbohydrate diet, tell the people about that, how they
Well,
can eat.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a difference. What are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are different types of foods that have sugar backbones, okay? But depending on how long that molecule of sugar is, if it's simple, it's very short. Okay? But if we have a complex carbohydrate, it's very long. And what is the difference between a short sugar
Right, and
and a
what does it
long
mean?
sugar?
Yeah.
It all has to do with the amount of time it takes the body to digest that food. Okay? So if you have a simple sugar, it's a very tiny sugar molecule. You find it in corn syrup. You find it in sugar itself. You find it in any kind of white flour, white bread, white crackers,
White rice.
white rice, white pasta. Very short, and it gets digested and absorbed very quickly. So all of a sudden when you eat, your sugar levels ramp up in the bloodstream immediately.
I say it makes our body lazy because the body doesn't have to work anymore. So
Entirely.
you're not working with your exercise, and your body's not working internally.
And entirely,
Yeah.
it starts with chewing. How many people chew their food,
Yes.
or just
Oh my God,
one,
I'm bad
two,
at that
swallow it
too.
whole, and we don't get good digestion. And the complex carbohydrates need that extra digestion. So with this big long molecule, it takes time for the body to break it up into little pieces and then absorb into the bloodstream. So we still get all that sugar, but it's over more of a prolonged period of time. And so the body can take that sugar and make it into glycogen or put it into the cells, and the insulin response doesn't have to be so dramatic. So there's definitely a difference. And the more complex carbohydrates you eat, like you suggested, which are whole grains, whole wheat, or different kinds of grains like quinoa and millet, are fantastic. Vegetables,
Buckwheat, yeah.
beans, these are all complex carbohydrate
Brown
examples.
rice. Yep.
Fantastic.
Anything with still the hull on it, yeah. Like
Exactly.
people like take the hull off and
Yeah.
grind it up.
That's where the nutrients are. And when we take that complex part out, the simple part, it's just sugar. There's no nutrients, there's no vitamins, it's plain sugar.
What about sweeteners?
That's a good question.
You
Well-
know, there's so many raw sugar. You
And
know,
I think
Right.
that we have a misconception that everybody who's diabetic goes on this, like, starts reintroducing like these substitute sugars, and they're not necessarily any better. I mean,
they're
they
not
have
good
their
for
own.
us, right? These-
Well, sugar in
NutraSweet.
excess is not good. But I have what I suggest to my patients is what I think is the best sweetener substitute. And I'm going to use the word sweetener. I use an amino acid called glycine. And an amino acid is part of a protein. So we have three different types of food. We have proteins, we have carbohydrates, and we have fats. Glycine is part of a protein, an amino acid, that has a sweet flavor. but it's not a sugar. It does nothing to our sugar levels. It does nothing to our insulin levels. So you can add this glycine, and it comes as a powder, and mix it into whatever you want. Whether
You
it's
can
your
buy it
drink.
like that in
you can buy
health
it
food store?
as
Is
a
that
powder. Sure.
Glycine.
Yep, and it's nutritious. It's actually very relaxing. It helps calm stress down. People who are anxious, it will calm them down as well. It helps as a detoxifier in the liver, but it has a sweet flavor. And unfortunately, in our society, we connect. You can put it in your. I put it in my coffee. I put it in my iced tea. We connect sweet flavor with sugar. If it's sweet, it must be a sugar, but it doesn't have to be.
No.
So they can buy this. It's powdered. Does it come in like powdered form?
Comes in powder. Comes in capsules.
Oh, it does, and all that. Okay.
Sure.
I use a lot of agave because I know it's
Agave's
lower
great.
in
Yeah.
and I think it's a nice substitute for sugar.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's agave. There's stevia. I even heard certain diet sodas are going to start putting stevia in as a sweetener, which is fantastic.
healthier
I don't
alternative.
recommend sodas, but it's a lot better than aspartame, which causes brain inflammation and neurological damage and that kind of thing.
Yeah. These poor people who really can't have any of that, diabetics, they have a hard time because they use those things, which,
Right.
like
Yeah,
you
it's
said,
good
are
to
no
know
better.
there's
There are other things out
alternatives
there, right?
Yep.
and not just.
That's great. So, what can a mother who's rushing to work, a working mother, and trying to get, like you said, the lunches and the meals for the children, what can she, give her child, like, for breakfast and for lunch?
Right.
Right.
That's a good question, and the best time to start this is, of course, early on, because all children learn their habits by the time they're 7 years old, and making those habits initially, if you have a young child or you're pregnant or thinking about having some children, whatever habits you instill those first few years, that's what the child will do, and that's what the child will think life is. Life is fruits and vegetables and happiness. Then forever they will look for fruits and vegetables and happiness. So
You're right.
There's always the influence of peers that comes up,
there
but
always
yeah,
is, entirely, but it's that foundation that we build initially
that they return to.
Exactly.
Even if they steer off a little,
Right.
they know.
But what do you do when
Yeah.
the child's already older and you want to start when you can? Education is a great thing, and helping the child understand what's good or what's bad or how we're changing things is step one. Step two is for the whole family to do it. Everybody in the family makes these changes, okay? Dad can't go and sneak off into the garage and eat his cookies. Everybody has to make these healthy changes. It's a life choice. Everybody's doing it, and it's not one person or one child that's special, because it's seen as a punishment. Like,
Yes.
oh, I'm eating
Yeah.
rice and fish and vegetables, and you're all eating ho-hos. It's definitely seen
Yeah.
as a punishment. And the third thing to do is be prepared. And prior planning prevents poor performance. And take an afternoon that you can find on the weekend and prepare snacks or prepare meals. And kids come home from school and they're looking for snacks. You're going to go for something easy. You're going to go for something you can quick grab and run out to whatever you're doing, or if you sit and watch TV, whatever you do. It needs to be there and already prepared.
Yes.
So if it's vegetables like snap
Making
peas
it
and carrots
convenient.
and celery, cucumbers, make it convenient, put in hummus or whatever kind of dip that you use, and have it individual Tupperwared out. And Sunday is my day for food preparation, and every time that I prepare my meals for the week and my snacks for the week, I eat so much better. And when I don't and there's nothing there to grab, I'm just looking for, it's a fast-paced society. What's quick that I can grab?
True.
It's going to be kind of hard for the mother who the kids come home and reach into the cookie jar and into the freezer for the ice cream,
Yep.
to all of a sudden reach for a celery stick and carrots and things like that. That's going to be hard on the parents, to do
Yes.
it now.
Yep.
There are some interesting recipe books out there now, like how to sneak vegetables into your kids, in disguise, spinach in their
yeah,
brownies, and so you can at least help to create a little more balance. I mean, some tricky ways. There's some tricky ways to get
Yeah.
the nutrition in there.
That's a good baby step, and I think
But you do ideally want to teach them,
right. They'll still be
to
looking
steer
for
away.
brownies,
Right.
even if you do sneak spinach in there. But
Exactly.
change is always harder for people who are older
Yes.
and can't teach an old dog new tricks. And all of the parents and families that I use and change their diet and have them eat healthier, it's always easier for the kids.
It is.
It's the parents it's the adults where it's harder because they have had habits. You've had 20, 30 years of habits of what you're eating, if not more. But the kids have had 10 years. And they really do change a lot faster and a lot easier.
What about like for breakfast? I'm thinking of a mother trying to get her children off to school for breakfast.
Right.
There's, the Pop-Tarts and the cereals, which
Sure.
are loaded with sugar,
Yep.
and things like that. What do you do? I mean,
Well,
kids don't
I-
like eggs that
I'll
much, do
make
they?
Homemade pancakes, like with whole wheats and
Right,
stuff
right.
ahead of time.
Yeah, whole grain things.
And
Sure.
you can rewarm them. I'll make a whole big batch of them on the weekend
Yep.
and reheat them.
Yeah, there you go. A lot of whole grain things. That would be a way to.
Whole grain
Get it in
things
there.
are
Eggs,
definitely
yeah.
good.
Whole grain
And
toast.
Eggs is what I wanted to mention because protein is the most important
Backbone
part
of the breakfast, yeah.
of the most important meal of the day. Hard-boiled eggs, having a dozen ready.
Mm-hmm.
Nuts, granola with seeds, those kind of things,
There you
and
go.
fruit. And you put those together and have
That's
some
naturally
berries.
sweet for them. Yeah.
Exactly. Those I really think protein and fruit is the best way to start your breakfast.
And eggs got bad press from cereal makers. They started all that bad press on the eggs. Okay, so eggs are good. They're good. I eat an egg every day. I've been eating eggs every day for 20, 30 years. Cholesterol's fine. So that's
Yeah.
what that came from.
And even the American Heart Association now acknowledges that eggs do not increase cholesterol.
Right.
I mean, if you ate a dozen, yes, they would. But
Yeah, every
if
day,
you have
yeah.
one or two, then no, they're
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Right. Everything in moderation. That's the thing,
That's right.
But I have it every day because it gives me that protein
Good.
boost, you
Good.
know?
So what about like the course of a day? Like how does our sugar regulate itself? Where are the pitfalls of the day? When
Right.
should we know like to eat a little more, eat a little less,
Sure.
exercise before, after meals? I mean,
Right.
what are some other ways to control
That's-
the diabetes for the day?
The best way to control your sugars is to continually eat. And a lot of people with diabetes
Never
are
stop.
recommended
Just
to
keep going.
just keep that arm moving.
I've heard that.
But
And people
eating
lose weight that way,
periodically,
too.
every couple hours, because you don't want to put the body into starvation mode. You don't want to either skip breakfast and then not eat till lunch, and then all of a sudden we've gone from 6 o'clock at night till 1 p.m., and that's a 19-hour span without food. And our sugar regulation is all over the map. Or skipping lunch. So people may have breakfast at 7 o'clock and then not eat till dinner. And days that I do that and I skip lunch because I haven't prepared, I feel awful. I get headaches, I get tired, I get cranky, and my students run away from me. So eating periodically, every couple hours. So get up, have a good breakfast, and just have things with you. And again, it's being prepared, and you don't have to eat a full meal, but it's having these kind of snacks, having the vegetables
I
ready.
bring a lot of nuts like almonds
exactly.
and walnuts. And people steer away from that because they're so worried about the fat, but
Right.
just a few, it will tide
Yeah,
you over.
a handful
It's
of walnuts a day.
wonderful.
Your megas. Yeah, you're right. Just a few. That's
Yeah.
the thing.
It's not like you're going to sit there and eat the entire bag. Of
Right. But and that's it's another good point. Those foods are fantastic in small amounts.
Yes.
And another part of our fast-paced society is how do we get the nuts?
yeah.
The nuts have already been taken off the tree and already shelled for us in delicious salt and
I
roasting.
know, we're not
and-
talking about roasted, salted, wasabi,
Right.
sugar, honey-coated nuts. We're
Yeah.
talking about.
And if we had to find the nut and break it out of its shell with some stones,
Right, we had to work for it.
it would
Yeah.
take a lot longer instead of grabbing a handful of nuts and eating them. And they're packed with a lot of protein and a lot of fat. So I recommend everybody, if they're hungry, always drink a glass of water. Drink a glass of water, it
Yes.
expands the stomach, and it tells the brain that there's something there, so you won't be as hungry. Or even eating water and mixing some fiber in it every day. Fiber will help your sugar levels.
Really?
Fiber will help your cholesterol levels. It'll also give you a sensation of feeling full. So doing that, and then having a couple nuts, having the vegetables, having an apple. That's really going to control your sugar throughout the day.
That's true. That's
And what
true.
about exercise? Like, where does that tie in? Like, in terms of, I know, like, some people say it's better to exercise before a meal, some say
Right.
after a meal. If you're trying to control diabetes, when is the best time?
And also, why do you exercise for that? Every time we talk about something, they always say, for this, for that, for the other, exercise, exercise, exercise. So tell the people so they can say, oh yeah, they're just telling us to exercise again. Tell us why that has an effect too. So we got two questions here.
All right, good. Exercise, exercise. Exercise takes calories. Exercise takes fuel. What is fuel? Fuel is sugar. So When you're exercising, you're burning that sugar that is in the bloodstream. And of course, diabetes, too much sugar, you exercise and you're going to get that sugar level down because it goes into the muscles so you can exercise and work out. Now, the timing, what I tell my patients is some is better than none, and I'd rather them exercise.
When it's convenient.
If they exercise, I'm ecstatically happy. And it's better to do it than to have to do it at a certain time and miss it, and then skip a day, and then skip 2 days, and all of a sudden you skip a week and your habit's broken. Some people definitely have an effect that exercise will ramp them up and they'll feel very energetic. Some people will exercise and they'll crash right after. And I think that's more important. So people who do get an energy boost obviously exercise at the beginning of your day if it's possible, and people who crash after exercise at the end of the day and then go to bed. And that's really it. But again, in our busy lifestyle, it's whenever you can fit it in, and getting it is more important, or doing it is more important than not exercising at all.
So when you say exercise,
Yes.
are we talking like a 30-minute walk a day?
Yeah,
Are we talking getting out the weights and all this fancy stuff and going to gyms a lot of people can't afford?
Right.
What would you say would be some good forms of exercise?
There's 2 major forms of exercise, and both are extremely important. So we have aerobic exercise. Going out and taking a 30-minute walk or more is really important because you need to work the heart. Okay? When you take a walk, you're moving your legs, you're a little bit moving your arms, but mostly you're working your heart. Heart, of course, is a very important muscle, and we need to work it. However, we need to combine the aerobic exercise with some sort of muscle work. And any way that you are working your muscles is going to help even more. And that can be going to a gym if you have a gym membership. If not, things like push-ups, or even getting weights like soup cans, something to have some kind of weight for your arms or your legs, and any kind of resistance training. Even just lying on your back and holding your legs up is going to work your stomach, and
How
it's
about
extremely
isometrics?
important. Great.
Where you tighten up and you
Sure.
bring the fist in. I've been working, I do caregiving also, I'm working an older lady with that, and what a difference. She
Good.
first starts out, she's weak, and by the end of doing all those simple things,
Sure.
she's stronger, she can get up quicker and everything. So I tell her, tighten it up and pull it. So that's a good one, right? We want to make it easy for our audience, so people can say, I can't go through this, I can't afford a gym, I can't. But there are so many things you can do. And
You can use isometric. You can perform isometrics. And again, what is isometric? Isometric is contracting your muscle without moving your body. All you need is your kitchen counter or your bathroom counter. Try and pick it up. And that's isometric. You're contracting your muscles, but that counter's not going to go anywhere. Or try and push it down
That's
the floor.
a good example,
It's not going to move anywhere. And just using something extremely heavy and trying to move it, being careful. We don't want to hurt or strain or cause a hernia, but just a little bit of pressure, that's isometric exercise. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And the reason that this is necessary is because when we perform aerobic exercise and we go for a walk, we use the sugar in our bloodstream. When we run out of sugar in the blood, where does it come from? It normally comes from our fat deposits, wherever that may be. However, people who are overweight, not only do you have fat, in the belly or the thighs or wherever, but you also have it within the muscle cells themselves. Okay? And insulin resistance, and again, diabetes has insulin resistance, and insulin is the key that brings sugar into our cells. And cells that don't need any more sugar, they'll close the doors. And they'll say, no more insulin, we have enough in here. They have stores of fat sitting on the shelves in the back of the cell. Right? And that's why you have this insulin resistance, and it makes diabetes worse because insulin can't bring sugar into the cells, so it has to stay in the bloodstream, and then it goes down and makes more fat deposits elsewhere. Back to the muscle cell. The muscle cell has all these stores of fat over here in the corner. When you perform this weight training, isometric exercises, isotonic exercises, push-ups, sit-ups, whatever you do, the muscle has to burn the stores of fat it has within the cell. When those are gone, which is about a month or 2 after weight training, they open the doors to the insulin and they say, bring on the sugar, I need more energy. And all of a sudden the sugar levels in your blood drop and diabetes goes away. And this is part of our cure. And there's so many other things that we do have, different nutrients and different herbs
we're going to ask you
that
about
can lead to a cure. But it's like you said at the beginning of the show, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep being who you're being. And to cure diabetes, you need to change your exercise and change your eating habits, change your lifestyle, and you will cure it.
See, people think they have to be a fanatic. They have to
No.
get out
Yeah.
like the people on the bicycles
Right.
who go all over town. They're compelling, they're great calves and all that. You don't have to be. Not everyone has time for that. So simple little things that you can do, like
Right.
you just said.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a
cost thing,
project,
Right.
right?
Right?
I even know, like, when I do yoga, and just the resistance itself, just holding in plank position,
Sure.
and you just feel it in your arms. I want to back up a minute and talk to you about, like, the warning signs.
good.
What happens to our bodies? How can we be tipped off that there
Right.
might be a problem, that we may be in a pre-diabetic condition?
A
or,
good question.
Great question. How do you know, especially if you don't go to the doctor? If you don't go to the
Right.
doctor and you don't get your annual physical and your blood work, how do you know?
Yeah.
The first warning sign is symptoms of dysglycemia. And dysglycemia is changes in sugar levels. So if you get cranky and irritable when you skip a meal, if you get headaches when you skip a meal, any kind of changes, if you're missing food at periodic times, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you don't feel right. Okay, this is the initial sign that there may be changes in your sugar levels. Okay, or people who are extremely fatigued and just bottom out during the day. That can be another sign of the body unable to regulate its sugar levels. So that's the primary thing that I see that I will start to run testing for patients. And the type of testing is really important because most of the time we think diabetes, we think to test our
Urine.
your urine, your glucose, your sugar levels. Unfortunately, that's not very accurate. It just looks at a snapshot of that 1 second in time and what your sugar levels are. And the best test is something called hemoglobin A1C. And hemoglobin A1C is a 3-month average of your sugar levels.
wow.
And that's such a better test and a better analysis of your sugar regulation levels than just that millisecond that you took the blood. And so all patients
you're
who want
right.
to look at their sugar need to look at that. I don't even run glucose. I find it inaccurate. It's a poor assessment.
Really? Wow, and people depend on those
They
blood
do.
monitors every day.
And they're
as
okay
an
for
indicator.
monitoring.
Yeah.
But for the initial diagnosis and the initial discovering, do I have a problem or not?
Right.
A lot of people will have normal glucose in the morning, but throughout the day it's totally random. And when you get your blood test, you're
Right.
fasting, you wake up in the morning, you go to the lab,
Right.
and you get your blood work done. And, oh, glucose is okay. It's usually okay even when things are starting to go wrong. And that's why I use this other marker for diagnostics. But of course, when you're diagnosed and you have your own meter at home, then glucose is good for monitoring.
What are some other signs? Just maybe physical changes. Are there any physical changes that we experience?
Well, I think normal weight gain that can occur, and of course weight gain with stress always occurs around the abdomen, and normally doesn't occur in other parts of the body, what they call that cortisol central adiposity, and that's another sign as well. But it's really the emotional changes, the focus and the sense of what you're doing in that, or headaches that gets off when you skip meals. That's really the biggest sign that you should go get checked, have your hemoglobin A1C tested so you know for sure.
What about the opposite, low blood sugar? The same kind of thing, right? It's kind of the same thing, isn't it?
Exactly.
Two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah,
Right.
And in the beginning of diabetes, or even in full-blown diabetics, when they take too much insulin, you take too much insulin, that sugar level can drop down very quickly. And people in the initial stages, that sugar level will be up and down, and you'll be hyperglycemic, then hypoglycemic, and it's all over the map.
And I've known a lot of people who start out with medication to control the diabetes, but then they've made so many life changes
Sure.
that the medication's too strong, and suddenly they're
definitely.
in low blood sugar
Yep.
situations.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important, if you do make those life changes, to have somebody look at your medication again. And
No, continually see your physician
Yeah.
when you're making those type of changes.
Absolutely.
Just to make sure you stay healthy. That's the goal. We want
Right.
to stay healthy.
You know, I'll give you a little example. My cat was diagnosed with diabetes. And he had been stressed out at the time when it occurred. So the doctor put him on insulin, of course, and I watched him. And he was okay for about a week.
Right.
Then he started exhibiting signs of hypoglycemia, because I've had that and I know what that is. He started getting freaky. He didn't sleep at night, things like that. I said, uh-oh. I cut back the dose. He was okay for another week. Started again. I said, okay, that's it. I took that away, and I started giving him the chromium.
Good.
Chromium picolinate. And I started small, more and more, and he was fine.
Great.
And then I took him to the naturopathic veterinarian. He put him on that plus some vanadium.
Good.
And he's off all grains,
Yep.
grainless food.
Right.
So the lifestyle changed for him,
Yeah.
and a little bit of the mineral that he needed.
And that's just
He's
it, too.
14
Our
years old and he
animals are
races
getting
around the
these
house
diseases.
like nobody's business. So it works.
Good.
I've seen it so many times, not just with my kitty that I love dearly, but with people and everything. It's
Yeah.
the lifestyle changes, not the pill.
Right. Right.
That's why people like yourself treat not the symptoms, but the body, the whole person, right?
Well, that's exactly why, or at least why I got into this medicine. And a lot of people who are sick not because they have some type of contagious disease, because that is cured. You can get antibiotics. You have bacterial infection, meningitis.
Short term, but these are chronic.
Get the
problems,
antibiotics,
yeah.
but chronic disease is caused by one of three things. It's caused by poor lifestyle, or it's caused by nutrient deficiencies. And a lot of people don't have the levels of nutrients they have, vitamins, minerals, etc. You take a multivitamin, that's not going to do it. The levels in a multivitamin are so small.
Right.
Exactly, totally.
And I always tell people that if you
Me too.
if you've bought your multivitamin at a pharmacy,
Yeah.
throw it out.
Yeah.
Go to a
I say
reputable
the same exact thing.
naturopathic physician or speak to somebody
Right.
at your health
Yep.
food store.
I'm taking Centrum.
It's just you're throwing your money away. You're throwing your money away.
Tangent here. I was speaking to the vice president of one of the major alternative lab companies, and he would perform a lot of different stool analysis that company would receive. At one time, he received a sample, and he looked at it under the microscope, and backwards were the letters Centrum. Because it didn't get digested, and it went all the way through and just imprinted its letters right there,
Oh my
and it went off to the
God.
lab.
Oh my God.
That is hysterical.
And not to name one brand,
No.
but you
multiple.
really need good types of therapies, and people don't get it from their food. Our food does not have the nutrients it
No.
once did, so you need to be tested. What nutrients do I have, and what do I not have? And sometimes, for example, your cat was the sugar dysregulation or imbalance from lifestyle and food, or was it from the lack of chromium? And chromium is the most important mineral for insulin resistance, insulin sensitivity, and sugar and diabetes. And some people will actually have dysglycemia just because they don't have enough chromium.
That's
But
right.
don't go take chromium, because you could actually become hypoglycemic.
Yep.
You need to get these things tested.
You
No.
need to get
You need
tested,
to
need to
know.
see the
Exactly.
naturopathic doctor. You can't treat yourself.
Right.
No, that's absolutely true.
And the third biggest common cause of chronic disease is toxicity. And we're a horribly toxic world. And I send all my patients to a website, scorecard.org, which is an anti-pollutant website. You can type in your zip code, and it'll tell you how does your county rank against the rest of America.
I did that. Mhm.
And New Haven County is among the worst, in the 80th and 90th percentiles of air pollutants and carcinogens. And I was talking to a multiple myeloma group last night, and the major factories that created toxins in that city produced a toxin, dichloropentane, that actually causes cancer in blood cells, which is multiple myeloma. So it's out there, it causes disease, and I'm happy
my
because
sister passed away of childhood leukemia,
Right.
and we were in an area of New Jersey that there was dumping from a major chemical company, and benzene, I guess it
Yeah.
was, and there was a huge lawsuit many years after the fact,
Yeah.
but she died as a result
I'm
of
sorry.
that. Yeah. So
And,
it's a toxic world, you're right.
We can't do much except we can detoxify.
Right.
And it's out there, and it's in the air, and it's in the water, but we can get rid of it. We can go through detoxification programs and clean people. And it really helps so many people in all kind of chronic diseases, and it's a cornerstone of the therapy that we use. And it's amazing.
So how do you treat diabetes in your practice?
Lifestyle is number one. As we've been talking about, you need to make the food changes, you need to make the exercise changes, and a lot of people have. And then people come to me and say, I eat all organic and whole foods, and I exercise 3 hours a day, but I still have diabetes. And these are the people we need to look at these other types of things. How's your chromium level? Where's your toxin level? Do we need to go through detoxifiers? There's a lot of herbs which are fantastic. Gymnema is one of my favorites. Gymnema is an herb. If you can take it as a capsule, and it works and helps insulin resistance, but if you take it as a tea or as a powder, it actually changes the taste of sugar. So you've got your cheesecake sitting in front of you, and you swish some Gymnema around your mouth, and then you eat the cheesecake. It doesn't taste like cheesecake. it doesn't taste like sugar. I have no idea how it works, but it's amazing. And so it really helps train people in the mind, oh, I want the sugar, I want the taste of sugar, I have that need for it. And that's gone because it doesn't taste like sugar anymore.
Oh, so it's kind of like a trick for the mind to get it away from...
Entirely.
Yeah, okay, like,
Yeah.
oh.
Entirely.
Guess I should just
So
coat
that's how
all
you-
my kids' Pop-Tarts with it.
And cover it. Slip it inside, yeah.
So that's what you do, and you test them, and you do all the different things, check the levels and everything. So I remember when you did a test on me, you were talking about that one moment when you take the blood,
Right.
and I know the test lasted all day, taking my levels the whole day, and I was really surprised. It was what was it? It was thyroid or
cortisol.
Cortisol, yeah.
And I realized that that's the way it has to be. You have to all day long.
know.
It changes up
So
and down.
many of
So
the
you need
tests that we get are
Right.
just a one-time
Yeah.
thing, and how does that monitor? I mean, thyroid too. It's like, when do you check it? You know, you have to check it more than once.
Right.
I mean, people have it checked once, and it's either high or low, and
Right.
it's not a good indication
Right.
of.
So your test was excellent. I mean, the test you did on me.
Well, we try and get the best tests that we can and really take a broader look at patients than their normal conventional doctor may. The conventional doctor always runs the good blood tests, CBC and chem screen and thyroid and cortisol. There's so many other tests out there, blood tests and urine tests that are available, that are done by the regular labs and covered by insurance, and we can take a look at so much more of the body.
I know the lab wasn't happy with you after when I came. The lab,
yes,
they're like, wow. I'm like, well, he's very thorough.
But it provides us with so
Yes,
much
it was good.
great information. In fact, two stories. One story to go off the results that you get back from a lab. One of my patients last year, who has high cholesterol. So we ran her cholesterol. Her conventional doctor also ran cholesterol. So she brought 2 lab slips to the lab and said, I need these run. So the lab stuck her vein, took 1 blood for my cholesterol and another blood vial for her other doctor's cholesterol level. One report came back with a cholesterol of 190. The other cholesterol came back at 220. The exact same moment in time, maybe separated by a few seconds, had a 30-point difference in cholesterol.
Oh my God.
And we hang everything on these blood tests. And somebody who got the 190 back, oh, you're great. Somebody who got the 220 back, you're on Lipitor. Unfortunately, these tests aren't 100% accurate. And we really need to understand that when we're interpreting and working with patients.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Oh, and then the other lab comment I had, one of the tests that we perform a lot, again, toxin testing. Child came back, had, he was a 10-year-old and was having problems seeing. All of a sudden, he was a baseball player and great at sports and had problems seeing. We ran different tests and he came back positive for arsenic. There was actually arsenic in the new playground wood that they had put down. And there's arsenic in wood. Any wood that you find is treated with arsenic except wood in zoos. Because when they put arsenic in the wood in zoos, the animals died.
Animals, yeah,
So
won't
no
lick it
arsenic in
and bite
zoos,
it.
but we're animals and mammals too. Arsenic in there and arsenic in chickens. Before a chicken is killed, they pump it full of arsenic because it pumps the chicken more full of water. So when you sell it, it's more water, which another great reason for organic chicken.
Yes.
So horror stories, but we can't live in denial.
Yeah, we can't.
It's out there, and we need to do as many things as possible and to get this stuff out.
If people only knew.
Getting
We
back
try
to
the best we can, yeah.
Subject of children, because I see here that you've written a book about healing children naturally.
Yes.
I just think it's such a saddening thing to see children with diabetes and, what comes after that. I mean, it's scary to think of life after diabetes if these children continue
Yeah.
to...
It is, and most of the time people would get type 2 diabetes, and it's called adult diabetes because
Right.
children never used to get this in general. But now they are getting type 2 diabetes, and it's entirely from lifestyle. And I have some nieces and nephews myself who are type 2 diabetics, and they're 12 years old, 14 years old. And it's all the diet. It's all the diet and the sedentary lifestyle, and we need to change these habits. We need to, the families need to, the schools need to, everybody needs to do as much as we can. And some schools are taking out soda machines, which is a great start. You mentioned the fruit juice, even though it's fruit juice filled with corn syrup.
Yes.
filled with extra sugars. Read those sugar grams, divide by 4, see how many teaspoons of sugar are being poured in. There's some studies that show if a child is fed more than 8 ounces of fruit juice, they will have childhood obesity.
Not the natural, but the ones with corn
the sugar,
syrup. Okay.
sugar-fed, sugar steroids, if you will. So water it down. If you want to give a little juice, water it down. Or if you don't like the flavor of water, add some fruit. I'll put lemons into my water pitcher, my water filter, or sliced limes, or sliced grapefruit, or kiwis, and it adds some flavor, which is great.
Yeah.
And you don't need, or carbonated water and flavored water. You don't need the sugar to have a different taste.
Right.
They make this water now, and they said sucrose is in it. It's a little sweet. Did you see that?
No.
Flavor, yeah, sucrose, which is a sugar, right?
It's a sugar.
Yeah.
If it ends in ose, it's a sugar.
Yeah, and then there's another one where it just gives you the hint of kiwi and strawberry, but there's no sugar or nothing. It's just a flavor, like you just said.
That's nice.
Dasani, or whatever how they say it.
Okay.
That's a nice one.
Good.
You know, so
Yeah, I think people are getting wiser on that. But even some of the marketing, like, I won't mention any names, but they're put out there like they're healthy for you, these sports drinks or whatever, but they're loaded with sugar.
Watch the sugar grams.
Yes, and they may have vitamins in them, but they have a lot of sugar too.
That's for sure. And you also, we talk about how much sugar, watch the sugar, watch the sugar. But for these kind of things, we also need to look at how many good things they're putting in. And usually it's a sprinkle. It's a little fairy dust to look good, but you're not getting much therapeutic value from it.
Right.
It's great that it's there. However, if you're really treating yourself, you can't treat yourself with those type of products.
Yeah, they have flavored stevia now too, so you can put a couple drops in your water. That's nice.
That's a good sweetener.
Yeah.
So tell us about your book that you wrote for parents to heal their children naturally. Tell us all about your book and when it's coming out and so forth.
This is the first book I've written,
Title?
and it's definitely was a huge project, more than I ever imagined. My publisher said you need 100,000 words, and it just blossomed and blossomed over that, because there's so much information to share about natural therapies for parents and their children. It's called The Fundamentals of Naturopathic Pediatrics. And I looked at as much research done all over the world as I could. What has been studied and proven to work for pediatric diseases. So things like asthma, things like eczema, things like juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, the common cold, and croup. There are studies after studies after studies on vitamins and herbs and hydrotherapy and homeopathy. And I just needed to share this information because a lot of people don't want to do it if it's not proven or if it's not scientific. So I looked at as many places all over the world, all this research, to show what's out there.
We're
and
very
there are
grateful
so
for
many
that
options.
because we get that all the time. Where's the research? We don't see any research.
No.
I mean, there are studies being done, but who pays to publish them? And that's the issue ongoing.
Yeah, there are thousands and tens of thousands of research studies that have been done and are continually being done all over the world. And I just wanted to put this together for my parents and my patients, the students in the school, and anybody who wants to learn what's out there, what's been done, what works, what doesn't work. So it was a great project. I'm really happy to have published it, and it's coming out this August.
Wow.
So it's very exciting.
Good for you.
It really
Thank
is.
you.
That's
Thank
terrific.
You. It's going to be a great reference for
So
everybody.
we have about a few more minutes left. Is there anything that you'd like to say, leave our audience with, that's very dear to your heart in particular, that you want to get across?
Well, I think baby steps is probably the answer. And all these things we talked about will seem huge and daunting. And I have a lot of patients who will see all of this and freeze. I can't do it all. I can't walk 30 minutes a day
I know,
and take care of my kids and go to work and now eat a
healthy
whole
meals,
macrobiotic diet. It's all about baby steps. It's about looking at that goal in the future. Here's where I'm going to be, and I'm going to be great, and I'm going to be healthy and better than I've ever felt before. But it's one step at a time.
Lean into it. Just lean into it,
exactly.
and you'll get there. Yeah.
One step at a time. A yoga tape on the weekends, or changing to vegetables and cutting out desserts and switching little things. In my practice, I work with different nutritionists and dietary therapists, and they'll take the family to the store and say, this is what you want to buy, this is what you don't want to buy, and we really built a healing team to take people through it and help them step by step, because you can't tell somebody, don't do that. You have to tell them, do this.
Yeah, then
This
you
is
just
your new
rebel
life.
anyway.
So it's baby steps, and don't be scared because you'll feel great.
Wow.
So 3 days of Twinkies.
Go down to two, Rosemary,
yeah,
go down to
and
one.
then you're right, and then
and you'll get there.
and then you switch over. I know a lady who made these wonderful cookies that just had a touch of honey in them.
Good.
Really nice. And I bake whole grain cakes and things like that because I have allergies to soy and wheat, so I do that kind of thing. And it just makes a difference. And I know when I eat those grains and food like that, I don't get hungry as
You
quickly.
stay full
Right.
longer.
Yeah.
Beans are wonderful too.
They
Beans.
are. Sure.
Yeah, beans and rice.
Good.
And after a while, your system gets used to that. And you don't have to, have the problems that you would normally have with beans.
Right.
Sure.
And they make you sleep good too. What is in the beans that makes you, what is it? It's iron and it's,
They have a wealth of complex carbohydrates and
Complex, yeah.
proteins and nutrients like iron and B vitamins, and they probably have a fair amount of tryptophan, just like turkey, to help you sleep. And it's also that full sensation in
Yeah,
your stomach,
it does
and a
really,
warm sensation. I mean, my grandfather always used to drink warm milk to put him to sleep. Who knows what that is? And I'm
does
sure
it do that?
it did for him.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, whatever works for everyone, I guess, huh?
We all have a different answer.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna wrap
Well,
it up. and
yeah,
we
we've
wanna
got
thank
just
you
about
for
a
coming.
minute and a
left.
half or 2 minutes left. So, let's see.
Yeah, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about, like, are you lecturing now? Are you doing a circuit, going around? I see that you're pretty involved in different places.
Well, we have the teaching clinic down at University of Bridgeport,
Okay.
where our naturopathic medical students practice with patients and the physicians supervise them. So it's a great place to reach out community or people who don't have insurance, because we offer very discounted services or even free services for people who don't have insurance. And you can get natural health care from the best and the new leaders from the
Wow,
industry.
that's excellent.
And that's down at the University in Bridgeport.
Good to know. And you do some lecturing.
I do. I'll be in Florida next week lecturing, and I will be in Tacoma this August, where I have some lectures. One lecture on respiratory diseases and pediatrics and how they can recover from that. Another lecture on intestinal yeast, intestinal parasites, and how to use different herbs to clear that.
Wow.
That's great.
Very
That's
good.
terrific.
So we're gonna.
Well, if you would
yeah,
like to
give you-
contact this wonderful doctor, we're going to tell you how. It's Dr. Jared Skowron, and the phone number is 203-500-5532, and his website is www.naturopathicanswer.com.
Good. And please email your questions to healoutsidethebox@yahoo.com. For show schedules, you can visit either Rosemary's website, www.rosemarylachance.com, or my website, www.entirebeing.com.
And to contact us, you can call me, Rosemary, at 203-627-7966, or Traci at 203-232-3405. For those of you who don't get on the computer or would like to write a letter, you can contact us at the East West Healing Arts Building, 410 State Street, Suite 2, North Haven, Connecticut, 06473.
And feel free to visit our website for information on how to get copies of our shows.
All these shows are available for you. You can have a copy, okay?
And
All right,
a
and
quote for the evening.
The quote for the evening from our Book of Courage is, when looking at another person, don't look at their gender, their race, or their appearance. Simply look at their wings. Everyone is an angel in disguise, including you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll see you
Please
next
join us
time.
again.
Thank you so much. Good night.
As you look out through the window to the world you have made, always know you are the vision. See the truth, darkness fades.